Hey, welcome back to BIZ Talk TV. I'm your business guide and host, Michael Rager, here on the Now Media television networks. Hey, I'm excited. We've got my good buddy, Leo Simpson. Leo, how are you today, my friend?
Doing very well. How about yourself?
Man, I can't complain, man. It's just been awesome. It's been an awesome show so far. I can't wait to see what kind of great things you're going to bring to it. All right, so we're going. We're talking
Cool.
about the relationship between family life and business life. It's a different relationship, right? So what do people think about, this relationship and how should it look?
To be honest, most people don't even think there is a relationship. We kind of deal with family life and business life like the separation of church and state, right? And the reality is there is a dynamic between these two. And this goes back to what we talked about, a couple weeks ago with regard to work-life balance. The reality is that work life is a type of life, which is why in the context of family business life mastery, we deal with categorizing them as family life and business life. You can say work life, you can say career life, professional life. Uh, Nonetheless, there needs to be a distinction. That distinction is important because when you distinguish what they are, then you can look at them for what they are independently, but then you can see how they actually provide any sort of value to one another. So, most people really don't think there is a relationship between family life and business life. And as a result, they position themselves not to really get the value out of family life and business life as they should.
Well, what happens? I want to go. Can I go off subject just a little bit?
Absolutely.
What happens when family life starts affecting business life and business life starts affecting family life? Not in a positive
So,
way. I want to go in the negative way.
yeah. One of the things that I talk about is I solve the problem of family life crashing and burning while
Right,
business life is thriving and
right.
vibing. However, there's somewhat of an illusion of business life thriving and vibing because if you go back to one of the tactics and tools of perspective that I gave, I said family life requires a how did I put it? Family life requires a majority of quality of time over quantity of time, and business life requires more of a quantity of time than quality of time, right? So what happens is the person who has the quality of time and therefore the source of life is needed to give quantity of time in business, and that means that you have to be very engaged, very aware, very energized for the work you do. And what happens is, if family life is not working like it should, you might be able to give energy, but you're not able to give the true essence of value in your business life because there's a problem in a very pivotal environment of yours that is nagging you that you're not solving, and you're having to deal with it within the context of having to solve other problems that you get rewarded for in a tangible sense. But the same thing happens that once you give your energy and effort in the business world, to go back to family, you don't have the thriving and vibing, but the crashing and burning. There's this lack of energy and desire to deal with the family environment because you've neglected to deal with the problems for so long, to where it's like, man, when I get here, now you just feel like it's overwhelming. You don't know what to do. And that's how a lot of times divorce ends up being the reality when it comes to marriage, or that there's just a disregard for the relationships between the children and the parents because of not being able to give the energy to each one appropriately at the time that is needed.
Yeah, I see it both in, actually family life you're talking about. I see it in single people too. I see it in single people
Absolutely.
when their outside life is not going the way it should be. It can definitely come in and affect the business life. One of the things that I know I've had to deal with sometimes, and we talked about it, in private, is how do we, before we go in that door, either to the house or to the business, when something is not the way we want to go, how do we go shift it? How do we take it and say, look, I've got to go in here and be my best? How do I leave the crap behind me? How do you teach people to do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll lead into it by addressing that point you made about single people. Like, What people don't understand about family life crashing and burning is that it's not just related to the immediate family, it's also related to the aspect of the extended family. It deals with parental relationships, sibling relationships, aunts, uncles, the grandparents. Like, it deals with all of that. And in context, you talk about how do you help people shift. I'll give you a perfect example. And this is related to my extended family. So I had this cousin. I don't know if I talked about it here or not. I have this cousin that we were very close, grew up together, almost grew up like brothers, things of that sort. But this is one of those cousins that you'd want to fight, okay? Sometimes the way he would deal with things. Well, I had this issue with this particular cousin to where I would always get in conflicts, especially when we would be in conversation, because a lot of times he want to try to overtalk me versus me, kind of share what I'm sharing and, going from there. Well, there was this situation a couple years ago, maybe even a year ago, where we were in, interaction with each other. And as a result of what was going on in our conversation, a question was asked of me. And I went in the mode of, hey, let me answer this question, right? And as I began to answer the question, this cousin kept interrupting me. I was like, hey, man, let me finish what I'm saying. And what ended up happening was there was an altercation between he and me. Why? The altercation was because I was trying to use energy that was consistent with my professional environment in a family environment. And I didn't really have the distinguishing of my focus and my energy to ensure that, hey, this is just a casual conversation. I don't need to deal with this as I'm talking in a meeting or having to answer the question of a client to provide value to them. And that's how I was dealing with it. So, to get to your question, how do we make the shift of I'm getting ready to go in the door? How do I have the mindset that when I go in this door, I'm here to give what I have to give? I said this way, put on the right hat. Okay, when you walk in the door as a man, a husband, a father, I need to put on the husband and father hat. And that means that in the same way, when I walk into my office or my building or my facility related to my work, I'm thinking about what role do I play and what value I need to bring. And that's the same thing when you walk into the home. What role do I have to play and what value must I bring? It's really that simple. However, when we don't understand relationship between the two, we don't really understand the value we need to bring to it.
Yeah, it's a really conscious decision, and it has to be a very conscious decision. Because I think it goes back to we talked about one of my clients came up with something that I know we still need to patent this thing. We talked about that attitude tree and hanging that leaf up, and do I take it? And what it was is, if something is bothering you outside the office, there's got to be a mechanism for you, especially if you're the leader of the company. You're the CEO, you're the managing partner, you're the president, you're something. If there's crap outside, that crap needs to stay outside, right?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
cannot come inside that door.
Conscious decision. That's powerful, man. You were dropping some bombs of questions with Kat, and now you're dropping the bombs of perspectives with Leo. The power of what you said, conscious decision. Here's the thing, when it comes to business, we have a tendency to deal with the very construct of our mechanisms, the momentum we can create, the money we earn, the measures that we produce, and all those different things. And those things are valuable, they are necessary, they are vital. But it's the mindset that we have that really positions us to create the value within the construct of all of those. And so when we understand that the way we think, what we believe, how we feel, and being able to have a conscious decisional dealing with those things within the context of what our assignment is, our role is, what the expectations of our interactions are, then we can see ourselves move forward. I love to say it this way: nobody's going to go to work expecting to lose. But why do we go home expecting to lose? You have to expect to win at home. You have to know I'm bringing value home. Matter of fact, it's not just I'm bringing value home. I got value from home before I left to go to work. And we've got to put it in the proper context, the proper perspective, and see that again, there's a fueling between these two. And again, it goes back to understanding the relationship more so that they have a relationship between one another.
Yeah, it's that's so important. And we've talked about it before again, is a lot of time people get up and they give their best, especially when they're going to a job. They go give the best to people who really don't care about them, and they come home defeated, angry, depressed, and give their worst to the people that really care about them. And it's
Man,
so hard.
oh man. So watch this. When you give regard to what you said, there's the reality of when you wake up in the morning, you don't wake up with your comrades at work. You wake up with your family, right?
Hmm.
And so you wake up with people not only who care about you, but you care about them. Why would you care about those people and then not take the depth of value and care of those people to work with you so that you bring that same level of care and energizing of care to the work environment? That's where, when you understand the relationship between family life and business life, that they have this ebb and flow, this fueling, this flowing, this focusing that's in between them, then you can get the sense that there's never really this sense of I shouldn't like these people over here because I really shouldn't even be at this particular place of employment if there's no care, right? If
Yeah.
I'm there just because of the compensation and what it is that I can consume, hey, that's the problem. Now, don't get me wrong, you can make a contribution there, but your contribution is going to be limited to what you're getting out of it and what you're producing in numbers. You've got to see that there's value beyond just the exchange. And that goes back to what Kat was talking about versus the transactional versus the transformational. When you deal with family life and business life within the context of the relationship that they play in fueling, flowing, and focusing one another, you engage life at a transformational level beyond that you get just from the transactions we engage.
Well, that's awesome, man. We've been both dropping bombs today. So tell people how to get a hold of you. We got to get out and get to the next section so we can see what other bombs we can get today from Kristen.
Absolutely, absolutely. Listen, go to my website, team3l.com. It'll get you to all of my social media stuff. Actually, you can see Michael right there. We are having a great time. We got some great things coming up here soon, 90 conversations in 9 days at the beginning of April. And so we want to be able to give you some value in being able to experience mastery between family life and business life. And you can join our community. That'll help you as well.
All right, man. Well, Leo, thanks a lot, man. It's awesome to always have you. I'm Michael Ridge, your business guide here on the Now Media Television Networks. We're going to